welcome back to my channel. I know I've been away for a while, but that's because I was doing job interviews and all that fun stuff, and I've been working, so I haven't really had a chance. But back today, and I'm going to be filming several reviews, so hopefully that'll sort of make up for it. I'm going a little out of my comfort zone today, reviewing a liquid foundation, which if you've watched my previous videos, I've mentioned multiple times that I use a powder foundation. I don't know if I've ever really explained why it is, but I prefer powder foundations. I've had more luck with them in the past. I've yet to find a liquid foundation or cream foundation that didn't feel like a mask or just looked really fake. So I usually use a powder, and plus powder's more forgiving if you are a little off on matching your skin tone. But anyway, I decided to give it a go, and this is one where I've seen a couple reviews saying it's a good budget foundation to try. And it is a Rimmel London product. It's the Stay Matte Clarifying Matte Foundation plus SKINPURE Complex, and it claims to have up to 12 hours shine control. It's oil-free. I have number 200 in Soft Beige, and it comes in this little tube of 1 ounce. Little pros, I like the packaging. I like how it's in this little tube. It's less messy, it's more sanitary. You can just squeeze out what you need, and then you don't have bacteria getting caught up in your foundation, like if you had a cream in a little cake or something like I have for my stage makeup, which I actually use a old CD for a makeup palette for that, but that's another story. I like it how it's more compact than a bottle or a pump. This would be better for traveling, I think, if I were to bring a liquid foundation traveling, which I won't because I don't really like them. I find them messy and clumsy and time consuming to use. But I decided to give it a go. It runs about $6. They also have a 25-hour formula. I got this. I actually wanted to try liquid foundation because at work when I'm running around, my powder foundation doesn't always stand up all night. So I thought something like this might actually last longer. So after work one day I went and tried it, and I looked up several foundations. I looked at Almay and Neutrogena and stuff, but you know, they were a little pricey and I couldn't understand half of what I was reading because I like to compare the ingredients as I always do, and I'll point out that this product is paraben free. There's no talc, and it includes salicylic acne medication if you're acne prone, and yeah, so that might be something to mention about this. Onto the product itself. As I've said before, I don't really care for liquid foundations. I never have. And the consistency is very liquidy. It's not as thick as I was expecting. It goes on fairly well, but because of its thin consistency, it's kind of hard to get an even coverage of it because it's easy to like smear more than you really want to, and then you have to blend it out, which is time consuming in itself. I use a foundation brush. I actually bought this brush when I bought this because I don't have a foundation brush, obviously, as I don't use liquid foundation. It's retractable, which is kind of neat. That's not the point of this review. And because it's thin, like I said, it's kind of hard to get an even coverage, and even then I still feel like if I look up close it's kind of splotchy. It's not really an even thing. It's like I feel I can see the little pigments of color speckled on my skin rather than a solid line of color. However, what I do like about liquid foundation is you can actually use a concealer brush and apply it to a more in a more concentrated form to areas where you need a little more coverage, like if you have a pimple or something. However, because this is such a thin formula, it doesn't have as much coverage as I sometimes need. Like, for the most part, it's okay, but sometimes I have a big red pimple, or I've mentioned I have issues with dark under eye circles, and this really doesn't have the amount of coverage I need for that. But if you do have just light things you need concealed, it'd be fine, and you don't have to worry about matching your foundation to your concealer, because you can use it for both. But yeah, and then as I set it, I've tried different ways of applying it and setting it. Well, the first time I did it, I used a dry brush and I just applied it, and then I used powder to set it, and then it just looked like a cakey mess. I hated it, so I took it off and started all over, and I mixed this with my moisturizer, and I dampened the brush a little, which made it go on a little smoother, but then the coverage was thinner. And then I set the powder, and it still looked kind of cakey, but wasn't quite as bad. So the next time I tried it a little different. I used a damp brush, and then I applied it. No, I did a C, and then however you're supposed to apply this, I googled it, thinking maybe I was doing something wrong because maybe there's a fancy trick for it, but no, not really different than what I was doing. But I used that, and then I used a damp washcloth and kind of pressed it to my face to help kind of set it in, which is something my mom taught me to do when I was younger, which I guess helped some, but it's really still didn't make any sort of difference. And of course, it doesn't help that I use my mineral powder to set it, because I don't really have a regular powder. And if you've seen some of my reviews, this is my normal foundation. Now I've hit pan on it, but it's Physicians Formula Mineral Press Powder. And so by the time I got that done, it took a lot of time, and then it ends up looking not much different than if I just save my time, do a little concealer, and put this on. So really, it's not worth the time, because I thought, it'd be liquid foundation, be the perfectly porcelain skin or something, something different about it, but it really doesn't look that much different than what I normally do. I mean, I do have it on now because I like to wear it for reviews, but really, for how much time it took me to just get the foundation on, I could have done my whole face with my normal routine. So it's not for me. I mean, for me, there's really no benefit using this versus my powder foundation. It doesn't really have more coverage. It doesn't make me any smoother or anything like that. So, I mean, if you like liquid foundations, by all means, try it. But for me, it's just a waste of time and, frankly, my money, kind of. I mean, I'll use it. I'm not going to bother returning it. It's only like $6, and I may need a liquid foundation one day. But it's just not for me. As for and when you apply it, it's not really truly matte. It's a little dewy. I mean, it's not super matte, and I guess people with oily skin on Makeup Alley says it makes them more oily. But that's just something to mention. I haven't really noticed it, but I don't have super oily skin, so. But, yeah. Product, decent. It's okay for the price, but compared to what I normally do, it's not worth my time, so I'm not gonna repurchase this. But hope it helped someone. Anyway, bye.